I've got a pile of tools behind me that haven't seen the light of day since we left Midland. And yeah, back to boat projects. What isn't there to be excited about? Let's make some holes.
We're Chris and Sandra. We started America's Great Loop in July of 2023, but it all started in 2022 when we bought a boat we named That Away. On a foggy May morning last year, we said goodbye to Port Dover and headed down Lake Erie through the Welland Canal and onto Lake Ontario. We had a summer of fun boat projects and explored Lake Ontario and the famous Canadian Heritage Canal System, the Trent Severn Waterway. We spent the spring of 2023 overhauling the galley of That Away, and we took off in July, even though we had lots more to do. Join two not-so-young kids as we make our way around the 6,000-mile loop of North American waters.
Yeah, so this is supposedly our new heater. I have to admit, it's much smaller than I expected.
How much was it?
It was under $2,000, but I forget the exact number. We're missing hoses, which would have been a big part of the delivery. That's heat. Protection from heat. Those are outlets. Vents, yeah. Ooh, that's interesting. Why is that so small? Oh, I guess that's what I ordered. That's the through hull for the
Venting out?
Of the exhaust from the combustion chamber. So that'll go through the side of the boat.
Can we use a hole that we've already got?
No, I'll have to put a new hole in.
Yay. Putting holes in boats.
This is going to be high up. $70 for one little piece. And there's no heater in here. This was it?
Yep.
What the f?
Maybe there's a second box that hasn't arrived. What does the packing slip say? Like 1 of 2? This is 2 of 2.
You only got one package?
Well, she checked. She said there was just the one.
I guess I better go back there
and ask.
That's not good.
Oh, I'm sure it's somewhere.
Turns out there was a second package up there, which was the bigger package. So this first package just had all the accessory parts that I bought. This first package is the actual heater. What's interesting about this is some of this we won't even use. Like this is a tank, a fuel tank for it. So you'd put diesel in here if you were running it off its own tank. We're going to set ours up to run off the main diesel tanks down below. So we're not going to be using this. This is a muffler for use in enclosed spaces. Chances are we're not going to be using this because I don't think we need it. We'll see. If it's noisy, I'll revisit that. And then this is the actual heater, which is why I was surprised at how light this package was initially. So I'm sitting over the lazarette, which is our storage at the back of the boat. And it's essentially just it's about this wide. It runs the length this way to that way. It's a little bit of junk storage or things that we don't use very often. And the autopilot's down here and the steering is down here, which is all hydraulic. And we've always kind of known that we have these pipes here which are the parts for a manual steering if the hydraulic steering were to ever fail. But in order to actually use that, we would have to dismantle the angular sensor for the autopilot, because you can't really see this, I'm guessing, but this pipe has a square end on it, which is supposed to sit on top of the rudder post, which is itself square. So you put this in, and then you put the piece of wood that's there in that, and you've got a manual rudder. Pretty crude, but it would work, I think. The issue is when they installed the autopilot, they put a cap, I guess would be the best description, on that square post to make it round so that they could attach the angular sensor. So if it ever comes time that we have to use this manual rudder, it would just mean popping off that cap, which doesn't look too hard. It's just held in place by 2 bolts. And then you'd be able to steer the boat manually. So nice to know we have the ability to do it. It would probably take us a good half an hour if we were really panicked about it to get it set up and going. It is what it is, I guess. So the reason I'm here, sitting in the lazarette, cleaning off my feet, this is where we've decided to put our heater. And so the heater will go on this side, on the back wall of the lazarette, and I'll try and get pictures of this later. We picked this location after a lot of hemming and hawing. We really considered 2 locations. One was here, which initially I wasn't very comfortable with, and my plan was to put it up where our water heater is, which is just below the lower navigation, lower helm. Initially, I thought that was a nice location because the runs to put heat in the 3 cabins would kind of be equidistant, right? The one to the main cabin would be very short, and then you could put one front and one back. Fuel supply is there. It all kind of made a bit of sense. The downsides to it are that you're putting the heater underneath the living space, which isn't the end of the world. Lots of people do it. You're putting it in the engine room, which again, with a diesel engine, it's not the end of the world because you're not worried about blowing the boat up with a spark or, a flame or anything like that. But for all those reasons, it makes more sense to use this rear lazarette. The downsides to using the rear lazarette is the exhaust from our diesel engine comes up on the port side here, rear. And so, we want to make sure we've got good clearance for our intake and exhaust. And let me back up a second. That's just the intake and exhaust for the actual combustion. The intake for the actual heat, where the heater is going to actually draw the air that's going to be heated from, we've decided to put it in the cabin. Initially, I wanted to put it outside of the cabin, and again, it would have been coming out somewhere high up on the boat. That's a 4-inch diameter hole, and then, of course, you run the risk of pulling in combustion exhaust, so carbon monoxide, which would be a real mess, and a good way to either get really sick or kill ourselves.
Good way to end the loop.
So anyway, after a lot of hemming and hawing, we decided that we would just draw our air to be heated from the cabin. So the downside to that is you don't get a drying effect because you're grabbing the same air that's already in the cabin, which that was the only real reason I wanted to have it running from outside. And I think we can live with that. But otherwise, the only other challenges are that everything that we need in terms of power and that kind of stuff is that way, towards the middle of the boat. We're going to have an actual duct line for heating that's going to have to run up to the front of the boat. And we're also going to have power and, that kind of thing, fuel running to the middle of the boat as well. So that'll be a bit challenging, but it looks like it's doable. Anyway, we're going to get started. So the way I've decided to tackle placing this heater, this diesel heater that we're installing, is to drill the vent lines first. So my air intake, I figure, is going to come in here, which means ultimately that my heater is going to sit somewhere there, and then the air out on the other side of this wall, to be clear. Right? So this hole on the other side of this wall, the heater. So the air intake has got a very short travel distance, which I think is fine. It's just pulling air to be heated. And then the outlet will be about here on the other side of the wall, and it's going to come down like this. And then I got this thing, which is called a wall thimble. And the intent of it is to provide an air gap. So in other words, the hot air duct is going to come through here, be like that, and it'll be coming through the wall from the other side. And then this air gap, I figure I'll just pack with heat-resistant insulation, keep the air duct away from the plywood is essentially what we're doing. We're creating a gap. And probably what I'll do is I'll air gap it for the distance of the plywood. It's 3/4 inch plywood. I'll have insulation here to keep it centered. I think it'll work quite well, actually. I already marked 2 holes for this. My first hole would have actually come out on the hydraulic lines and the electrical lines for the steering, the autopilot and the steering hydraulic line, so probably not a good idea to drill that one. And that's about it. I've got a pile of tools behind me that haven't seen the light of day since we left Midland. And yeah, back to boat projects. What isn't there to be excited about? Let's make some holes. I'm going to drill some holes with this.
Should you be wearing a respirator? Is this a fiberglass you're going to go through?
No, it's just plywood. There's no fiberglass. Yeah, very thick. I need to know how thick, actually. I think this might be 1-inch plywood. Which makes a certain amount of sense, given that it's a bulkhead. Wow, 1 inch. Good news is it's solid.
That's not as thick.
Should be, but you're right.
3/4, ½ inch.
Why is this thinner? Oh, because this is a double layer of plywood. This is just a single layer. Makes sense, right? There's no finishing layer up here. Cheap. Economical.
Lighter.
I would not begrudge thick bulkheads the whole way through. In the least.
Awkward.
Yeah, very.
Would pre-headstand Chris be able to do this?
Probably with a lot of complaining. As it is, I think I'm gonna feel this when I get out. Right, all I really want to get accomplished here is I'm going to go around to the outside and feed this through.
Okay.
So I'll take a screwdriver in this. I may need you to poke the light in here. Oh, the weekends really perk up here, eh?
Yeah, all the seasonal boaters come and turn up the music. It's alright, I like this music. It's all fun until it's music I don't like. And then we shall whine.
No, please don't.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to pull it through.
Ouch.
It's kind of hung up a little bit on the top now.
Yeah.
That's because you've turned it. It's askew. It was through better when I pulled on it.
Just a minute, please. I can't. That's not gonna work.
It's hung up on the bottom now. On the there you go. What do you think?
Not sure yet.
Doesn't seem to be flush. I don't know if that's the goal.
Sorry?
Doesn't seem to be flush, but I'm not sure if that's the goal.
Yeah, it's got to come in quite a bit.
Sorry?
It's got to come in quite a bit. It's hung up on the hydraulic.
Does a hose need to be disconnected?
It's hydraulic line that's in the way.
Oh, that's a hard one to disconnect.
Oh boy, so close.
There you have it. Another hole in the boat.
That's surprisingly easy, isn't it?
Are you going to do the second one right now?
No, that's it. I'm not going to do another one, I don't think. Oh. What?
Takes off at an angle.
What the hell am I supposed to... Oh, I gotta... Really?
You have to straighten out the hole so it...
I'm gonna make it just a hair bigger.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we were going to go have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What do you want first?
Light. Okay. Block a lid.
So this is how it came down.
Yeah. So, not sure what the camera can see here. This is a super awkward place to work, as you might see by how I'm set up here. I'm working around the hydraulic drive system and the autopilot, which is also hydraulic, and it's just a mess back here to try and work comfortably. I've got this 5" by 5.5" block that I'm mounting, and then I'm going to put the L bracket for the actual heater attached to this block. That gives me two things. It offsets it a little bit from any combustible surfaces, because this block is going to be covered by the steel of the L bracket, and it just keeps me away from this plywood bulkhead a little bit. Doesn't say I have to do it, it just makes me feel a bit better. And then the other thing it gives me is it should be easier to run the intake line, which might make sense once I've got it placed. So I'm going to go ahead and place this. So Sandra, can you pass me the bit driver? I actually made a mistake here with the installation. What I ended up doing was mounting the wooden block 5.5 inches lower than it is shown here, and then flipping the L bracket upside down to how it's positioned in the in this video, so that the heater sits on top of the L bracket. Okay, can you put the heater in one hand? Okay, don't let go. Don't let go.
Yeah, I've got to let go.
Yeah, okay. Okay. This is exciting.
You have like nuts and bolts and stuff?
Yeah, so I'm probably good not screwing it in for now. So this is all the wiring harnesses for the heater, and I'm just going to run them out into the lazarette, and then we'll start going from there. This is the pump, the fuel pump. That's right, this is the transition to the control unit. Like I said, this one I'm going to have to feed in from the other side. Hopefully this is visible. This is the fresh air inlet for the heater. This is the air that gets drawn into the heater. You can see I've cut the hole here. I have the vent assembly here. I'm just going to put some sealant on it, and I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to screw it together. Right, so air intake. This is the combustion air exhaust pipe, and I've cut about 1 foot off of it, and I'm just going to put a little notch in it here for clamping. Okay. All these things have super sharp ends, so I've been cutting my hands like crazy. But I'm going to go down. I want to try and install that exhaust vent. And then I'm going to gasket the hot air outlet donut, which is, I think I may have shown cutting the hole earlier. This is insulation for the exhaust. I may install the air intake too, we'll see. This is a pretty tight, awkward area to work. Holy. Hey Sandra, can you come out and turn the camera off? I've been working on the heater project off and on over the last week. Made some good progress. One of the big stumbling blocks was the electrical work that I needed to do. I kind of bit the bullet and I decided to get a 24 volt heater. What that means is that the fan and the pump on the heater, the pump that pumps the diesel fuel, run at 24 volts. So what I needed to do was update the electrical panel because we have a 48 volt system. We put in a 24 volt DC to DC converter. So I've always had the ability to provide 24 volts on the boat since I did the electrical upgrade. But I had not made space on the panel to actually use 24 volts. So yesterday, I spent quite a bit of time rewiring the panel so that now one side of the panel is 12 volts, the other side is 24 volts. And that means that all of the lights, the inside lights that I bought 12 to 24 volt LEDs for, I was able to switch those over to 24 volts right off the bat, along with the fridge, which is a 12 or 24 volt system. So that's kind of cool. Now I had always planned this, but now some of the things on the boat are now running at 24 volts, which means lower amperage, which takes load off of the 12 volt system if I want to expand on that side. And also means that you can reduce your wiring runs. Not that I have, because they were already all in place. But of course, going from 12 volts to 24 volts means half the current. So with that done, I think, knock on wood, I'm kind of hopeful that today I'm going to finish the install of the diesel heater. So I'm in the bedroom and I need to, for now, I'm just installing one duct. And now I need the actual outlet, which I'm going to install down here. We'll see how this one goes. Down the road, the plan is to install another outlet further along in the boat, hopefully 2 more outlets, one in the main cabin, one in the front cabin, the V-berth. But as I said, for now, we're just going to do one and see how it goes. So, and I got to start by kind of moving things around. It's been really hard because every time I do work, I have to expose everything, do the work, cover it up so that we can actually sleep at night. It kind of slows things down. Anyway, let's get started. Can you give me a hand for a minute?
Yeah.
I just need you to hold this far end with 2 hands. No. Okay, so I want you to hold it because we're going to stretch it out. I need you to hold it down here like that. Back up that way as far as you can go. Oh, son of Go ahead.
Just a minute, I'm repositioning myself. That's fine, I'm trying to get myself unstuck.
Okay, a bit more.
How much is a bit more?
Okay, stop there.
Hey, just a minute, I gotta free something up, okay?
Do we have any scissors?
I have little tiny ones. You want them?
Yeah.
Just a minute. Ready? Alright, it's starting to move. Are you done with me?
Yeah.
Keep going down?
No. Just gonna try the fan.
Just a minute, I want to see where everything is. I'm not sure if I'm even aiming at it. Okay.
Nothing?
I'm not sure how loud it's supposed to be. Oh, I hear it.
Okay. Now heat. Okay, that's fan off.
Fan's back on. Or is that the engine? Or the motor? Is there a thermostat or something?
I don't hear this. Why don't I hear this?
I hear something, but I don't know where it's
I
coming
hear a
from.
light fan going.
Is that maybe
Just a
the
minute.
heater? I hear clicking.
Did you want to go inside and check to see if there's heat coming out of the...
I've got to pull this up. There's air coming out, but it doesn't seem especially hot.
Right.
And it's kind of a light.
Sorry?
Something's speeding up.
Sandra, I can't hear you.
Yeah, so I think it's heating up and it's getting faster. Oh, that just stepped up.
But it's not hot.
Well, not yet, but I mean, things have to have time to get hot, don't they?
I don't think so.
What?
Pump doesn't seem to be working.
The pump?
That's what I just said. Gotta do some investigation.
Right.
Alright, that's the heater running. Don't know if you can hear that. Hopefully I'm in the picture here. I'm just kind of taking care of loose ends with this heater system. It's installed. We've tested it. It's working. I installed the CO monitor last night. The CO monitor is somewhat close to the air intake for the heater. They specify a slightly wider separation. I think it's 24 inches, but given that it's a closed loop, air intake exhausts back into the cabin. I don't think it's an issue. That's probably the only thing I'm not 100% happy with. I think it's okay. Anyway, this sensor tells the system, it's feedback loop for the controller for this heater. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill a hole up here as high as I can go, poke the sensor through the hole, secure it, and then all I've got to do is clean up all my work in the rear lazarette, wiring, some insulation on the ducting, that kind of thing. All in all, this hasn't been too bad of a project, but a lot of unknowns when I started it, a lot of learning, a lot of starts and stops. So a bit of an educational experience.
Hey, darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind?
Thanks for joining us again this week as Chris steps through how we installed our new diesel heater just in time for the cold weather here in Indiana.
Hey, darling,
He has a thorough process for all projects, starting with research, planning, ordering parts, and then diving right in.
I wanna see it now.
If you have questions that weren't answered in this episode, please leave them below for him to answer. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Leave a little note and we'll drive real far.